Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Inclusive Value webinar. My name is Douglas Morrison. I work with the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre, and I've been part of the Inclusive Value team for the last 18 months. We are absolutely delighted that you can join us today to participate in this webinar, where you will hear from three fantastic speakers. So we're joined by our colleagues Aileen O'Hagan from Equate Scotland, from Emma Marriott from Emma Marriott Consulting, and Talat Yaqub also from Equate Scotland, and Talat will be joining us very soon. I do want to say we also have our colleague Danielle Miller, who operates everything in the background, so you won't see Danielle today, but I can assure you that without her, absolutely none of this happens. So thank you, Danielle, for setting everything up for us. We are also joined by colleagues from Sir Robert McAlpine, who are the industry partners on the Inclusive Value project. So there's a few things to share with you just before we get started. We are going to hear from our three speakers. We're going to have a mix of pre-recorded and live contributions, and we'll leave as much time as possible for Q&A. So please do input your questions into the question and answer panel. Those questions will be picked up and they'll be posed to our panelists throughout the session. We will answer as many as we can. We will also be launching a number of polls throughout the session to try and garner perspectives of those who are in attendance. So again, please keep an eye out for them. They'll flash up on your screen, and we'll only have around 30 seconds to present the answers before we move on. So please do give us your perspective. It's really important to us. For those that haven't been able to make it and are watching this on our YouTube channel after the webinar, welcome and thank you for tuning in. This is part of a series of a number of webinars that are being hosted by Construction Scotland Innovation Centre, and we're really keen to keep the dialogue around equality, diversity and inclusiveness going. The last thing that I wanted to share with you is that you'll see in the handouts tab of your screens on the right hand side that we have put a document there, the Inclusive Value Guide, which has been produced by the team, and it's perfect time for me to launch into poll number 1, which should hopefully flash up on your screen momentarily. There we go. So we're asking, first and foremost, how has COVID-19 pandemic impacted on your organisation's focus on equality, diversity and inclusion? So has it enhanced that focus, had no impact or reduced it? And we'll just give it a few more seconds, and I will ask Danielle if she can close that down and share the results with us. Okay, so not a massive surprise that we haven't seen an enhanced focus, but what I hope is that our contributors today will certainly help, albeit as a self-selecting group, take the knowledge, the insights and the perspectives of our panelists back into our organisations and really emphasise the value in investing in diverse and inclusive workforces. So with no further ado, a great pleasure in introducing my colleague Aileen O'Hagan. As I mentioned earlier, Aileen works with Equate Scotland. She is the author of our Inclusive Value Industry Guide, and has really led the development of both the guide and the self-assessment tool that we use within the project. So Aileen, over to you.
Hello, my name's Aileen and I work for Equate Scotland, and we are one of the partners of the Inclusive Value project alongside City of Glasgow College, CSIC and Sir Robert McAlpine. Equate Scotland is the national organisation in addressing the gender imbalance of women in STEM, so that's science, technology, engineering and maths, but we include the built environment in that too. So addressing the gender imbalance is a key priority for the Inclusive Value project. And while diversity and inclusion may not be a priority for you right now, given the challenges the construction industry and other sectors of the economy are facing, it is really important that companies continue to prioritise equality efforts so as not to undo any of the progress that has been made or exacerbate the inequalities people are currently experiencing due to coronavirus. Talent will be covering more about why diversity and inclusion should remain a priority for employers during this time. So today I will talk briefly about the Inclusive Value Tool, an industry guide that has been made available today. Inclusive Value is a free resource for construction employers and training providers, enabling organisations to make changes to their workplace through anonymous employee feedback. But before we go into a little bit more about the tool and how it can be used, I think it's important to cover why we have developed this tool and resources for the construction industry. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. So I think the statistics speak for themselves, but I'm just going to run through them really quickly. There is not a lot of women working in construction. Women make up only 15% of the UK construction industry and less than 1% of trade workers. And there's not much progress being made. So currently, gender equality in the construction industry will be achieved by 2194. So we are not going to see gender equality in the construction industry in our lifetime, which means we need to do something to move it much, much faster. In 2017, women made up less than 2% of modern apprentices in Scotland's construction industry, and that hasn't really changed over the past 3 years. So there's a lot of work to be doing. But it has not always been this way. There have been women working in construction, and quite a lot of women. So during World War II, 25,000 women worked on the construction of Waterloo Bridge. It wasn't until the men returned from war that women were to give up these roles in construction and manufacturing and return back to what they were doing before. But why is it even an issue? Why do we need more women in the construction industry? Well, it's not just the right thing to do. Equality in the sector and equal opportunity is really important from an equalities perspective, but it's also the really smart thing to do, so it will be positive for your business. Multiple studies show that companies with more diverse teams make better decisions and are more profitable than companies who lack diversity. But not only is it just a smart thing to do, we kind of have to do it. There is a huge skill shortage, and although the statistic is already out of date as we're halfway through 2020, the UK will need another 1 million workers to keep up with the rate of house building alone, not to mention other national infrastructure projects that are in place, such as HS2, Hinkley Point C, and the City Region Growth Deals currently taking place in Scotland. So Edinburgh and the South East Region City Deal will require an additional 3,000 workers in construction, and in Glasgow, the City Region Deal will generate over 15,000 jobs in the construction industry. But on top of that, we have an ageing workforce in the sector. There's uncertainty around Brexit and what potentially closing the borders to the European Union will do to the workforce of the construction industry. And now we have challenges relating to coronavirus. And these require really innovative solutions. But how can we build a future designed for everyone if we don't have a workforce that is representative of the variety of people, their skills, their experiences, and lifestyles? So while I fundamentally believe that the majority of employers want to see more women apply for and work in construction, it's not always easy for them to know what actions or steps to take. Where should employers invest their money? Where should they invest their time? And what initiatives are going to have the most impact, or what changes are going to have the most impact, not on just getting women through the door, but keeping them there while also supporting the rest of their workforce. So the Inclusive Value Tool is designed to help employers realise where they can see the best results and communicate with their employees by asking them what changes they would like to see or what additional support that they can provide. So it's a really useful tool, and it costs the employer nothing. to use. So if you're interested, please visit the Inclusive Value page today and sign up your organisation. You're also very welcome to get in touch with myself or Douglas Morrison. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have or take you through step by step how to use the tool. Alongside the Inclusive Value Toolkit, we have produced an industry guide. This is free for anybody to download that provides guidance and showcases examples of employers who are currently taking positive steps to support the recruitment and retention of women in construction. Examples include how Sir Robert McAlpine have implemented a practical flexible working policy that works for them as a company while also works for their employees. It looks at how City of Glasgow College are supporting women into construction courses at college level. And it demonstrates how companies are supporting those from non-construction backgrounds into site management roles through a fast track scheme. So there's lots of examples out there about people, about organisations in the construction industry that are taking new approaches to recruiting and retaining a diverse workforce. And there's also loads of practical advice on how to improve your workplace policies, how to make simple changes to your recruitment to make it read as more inclusive. And it also gives you a step-by-step guide on how to use the tool. So if you're unsure about the Inclusive Value tool and the value it will bring to your organisation, if you go to the very, very end of the best practice guide, it will take you through a step-by-step guide on that. So I'm going to pass you over to our next speaker now, but thank you very much. And if you are interested in the Inclusive Value tool or the industry guide, please do get in touch with me. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Aileen. And Aileen is with us live, so she'll be joining for questions and answers towards the end of the session. And again, just to emphasise that the document that Aileen is referring to is available in the handouts tab on the right-hand side of your screen. So before we hand over to our next contributor, we're just going to bring up poll number 2, which should hopefully appear on your screen any moment now. And what we really want to know, within the Inclusive Value tool, we've identified a range of areas that we know have impact on workplace inclusivity. And what we'd like to know from you is which of the following areas do you believe have the biggest impact on workplace inclusivity? So looking across pay and reward, culture, processes and policies, workplace environment and training and education. So I'll give you just another couple of moments. And if we could put that poll down now. And when you see the results, we see again no major surprise there. Culture is very much at the heart of the inclusivity agenda. And I think a personal reflection, it's so easy for us to lose our investment in culture, particularly at difficult times. So it's a real lesson for all of us. And again, I appreciate that speaking very much to an already engaged audience.
I know, I'm dozing on listening.
I am just about to hand over to my colleague Talat Yaqub from Equate Scotland. And Talat's going to offer some perspectives on why equality, diversity and inclusion matters.
Hi everyone, my name is Talat Yaqub and I'm the Director of Equate Scotland. I want to firstly welcome you to this webinar, and in what is a chaotic global circumstance, for you to be here and thinking about equality and diversity in the construction sector shows a real commitment to what is a hugely important cause and a hugely important area of work for us and for the industry and sector as a whole. We've had the opportunity to work on the Inclusive Value project, which is funded by CSIC, along with Sir Robert McAlpine, industry partners, and the City of Glasgow College. It has been a really interesting, insightful piece of work, which has given us the opportunity to create toolkits to create change in terms of gender equality within the construction sector. Before I move on to that, I'd like to give you a little bit of insight about who Equate Scotland are. Equate Scotland was first established in 2006. We're the national expert on gender equality across women in STEM, so that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but also the built environment and construction sectors. We work across 4 key areas. The first is with women themselves. We provide CPD, development opportunities, and upskilling for women who are either currently in the STEM sectors or who are looking to return to the STEM sectors. We work with women students. We are the only national student network to support, recruit, retain, and progress women who are studying STEM-related subjects to get them into this sector. As we know, at the moment, 70% of women who graduate with a STEM-related qualification do not stay in the sector long term. It's a huge talent loss, a huge economic loss to Scotland, and our student network is doing what we can to help fix that leaky pipeline. The third bit of work that we do is on policy and influencing. We work with government, with local authorities, with public sector bodies, and with industry sector partners to create good policy, to influence strategies, and make sure that gender equality is high up on the agenda. The last part is the most important part, and perhaps the part most crucial to this webinar. We work with employers, with companies, organisations, industry, right across these sectors to do what we can to recruit, retain, and progress women. That means working on training delivery, consultancy, strategy development, recruitment support, all areas of work where we can do what we can to create inclusive cultures where women not just exist, but they thrive and they play an equal role in the construction sector. So that's a little bit about Equate Scotland. But what I want to talk to you a little bit about now is why equality and diversity in the construction sector and why equality and diversity in STEM matters at all. I'm going to attempt to use technology and share a screen with you now. I've done this several times, but that does not mean that it has happened easily. So bear with me for a moment. So what should have appeared now is the screen and the PowerPoints that I'll be working off. So why we need to build back better within the construction sector and within COVID-19 and the experiences that we are all enduring at the moment. I know that this particular time has been really difficult for across the labour market, across industries, including the third sector and not-for-profit organisations like ours. It is a difficult time, but it's a time that we cannot allow slippage on equality and diversity. In my opinion, COVID-19 has illustrated why equality and diversity and an inclusive labour market is even more important at critical times like this. So why do we need to build back better? The inequality we are trying to overcome can be illustrated in the slides I'm showing here. Only 18% of computing studies students are women. 16% of engineering and technology students are women. 32% of architecture, building and planning students are women. Across higher education, we've got a long way to go. And given the fact that in 2030, there is a target of at least 25% women across these sectors, there's a fair bit of work to do for us to actually meet the targets that we've created ourselves. Across working life, only 23% of women are working in IT, 11% of engineers are women, and 38% of science professionals are women. As I said, there's a long way to go to create equality and inclusion. Within the inequality we're trying to overcome in the construction sector, currently women make up only 15% of the UK construction sector and only 2% of manual trade workers, despite making up 50% of the population. This will not come as a surprise to anybody on this webinar. According to the trade union GMB, it will take over 200 years to achieve gender equality in the construction sector. 200 years we simply cannot afford. But why does it matter? Well, the reality is the construction sector needs to recruit from a wider talent pool for it to remain sustainable in any way. It has an aging workforce, and to be able to respond to that, we need to be able to create young people's interest, women's interest, and a diverse range of people's interest in the sector, a sector that is so critical to our daily lives and our economy. The sector needs technologically skilled workers. It requires those who are already engaging in tech delivery because there's going to be more tech innovation within the sector. And for the sake of the sustainability of the sector, equality and diversity is proven to be good for business. It increases productivity, profitability, and innovation in the sector. So frankly, it just makes good business sense to invest in equality and diversity. Inclusive growth is a mission of the Scottish Government. Creating inclusion in male-dominated environments is an economic and social priority, as can be seen from the Education and Skills Strategy for Scotland. According to the Scottish Government, they aim to achieve economic growth in Scotland that is truly inclusive. That means growth that combines increased prosperity with greater equality. It creates opportunities for all and distributes the benefits of increased prosperity fairly across our economy. What does that mean? That means promoting fair work and good quality jobs, promoting equality and tackling inequality within the labour market, closing the attainment gap with young people in schools, and creating regional cohesion. Now, that means that in the construction sector, where we are working within the rural environment, we are trying to create equality where construction is taking place. There's a huge role within the construction sector to do that, as we see from community partnerships and community benefits funds. Even within the current climate of COVID-19, despite there being struggles within the economy, equality and diversity needs to be prioritised because it will create a more sustainable, profitable and productive industry sectors. Now, across COVID-19 and across the work, the last few weeks of economic economy conversations about rebuilding the economy, the phrase that's been used is build back better. That's been used across the world by the UN, it's been used by governments and by industry umbrella organisations. But what does building back better mean? It means creating workplaces that are greener and more sustainable, are responding to climate change. It's creating economies that are built from a foundation of citizen well-being. Indeed, the First Minister is on record talking about the creation and the need of a well-being economy. It's a sector and building back better of an industry that recognises and reconsiders the need for presenteeism and widens flexible working. By widening flexible working, we automatically open the doors to an industry to more women and more diverse candidates. It's investing in technology and digital literacy, and it's embedding equality and diversity in the workplace to help build a healthier and more sustainable economy. The words build back better will be heard more and more as our recovery gets back on track after COVID-19. What does building back better mean in construction? It's the creation of transparent and inclusive recruitment. It's investing in equality-related training and mitigating bias training, which I'm sure you will have all heard of. It's ensuring there are equality policies in place and not just policies that are gathering dust on a shelf. It's equality policies that are taken seriously, are acted on, and that line managers actually know how to engage in and ensure policies are being adhered to. It's thinking about how industries can introduce or increase flexible working opportunities, like I said, to open the doors to more diverse applicants, more diverse employees. And it's creating an equality strategy for your company using the tools and resources that you're going to hear about in this webinar and that we have worked with our partners so hard to create to support you in your equality and diversity efforts. The construction sector deserves to pick from the very best talent, not those who simply fit the same profile as before, because that profile is no longer fit for purpose. It's not giving the sector what it needs. I hope you find this webinar interesting, engaging. I hope you take lots of information away from it. And most importantly, I hope you do something with the information afterwards. If you want to get involved in more of our work, I hope you will get online, find out about our resources and talk to us. We're here to support you. That is the purpose of Equate Scotland. We want to see industries take equality and diversity seriously and actually do something with it. And most importantly, we want to help you achieve equality and diversity and do everything that we can to support your efforts. Please get in touch with Equate Scotland. Please make the most of this webinar. Ask as many questions as you can. We have a lot of patience for these things. But most importantly, I hope that you take steps forward to create equality and diversity, make gender equality a reality in the construction sector, even in these pressing and difficult times. Thank you.
So what we are going to do is move over to the next section, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome live our colleague Emma Marriott. Emma has worked with the construction industry for a number of years now, specialising in recruitment within the sector, and Emma's going to share insights as to why and how the industry can adapt and change. Over to you, Emma.
Hi, can you see my screen? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're all good to go, Emma.
Sorry. So hi there, yes, I'm Emma Marriott. Thanks very much for having me today. I am lucky enough to be on the board of CSIC, and I've held that role since the end of last year. But I've also been a huge supporter of Equate Scotland throughout my career in a construction recruitment environment, but also more recently, more personally in the last year and a half as I took my own career transition. So as all speakers have said, that I'm really keen that diversity and inclusion doesn't fall off the agenda. Whilst I know it's very important for the construction industry to return to site, return to working practices, I think it's a real opportunity to make sure that diversity is really at the top of your agenda and starts to drive the strategy as we see weird and wonderful ways that we're going to have to start working following this global pandemic. So I suppose I speak to you today as a business leader who's always had diversity of thought as well as gender, race, background at the top of my own agenda. I've worked in a construction recruitment environment for over 20 years, supplying staff from engineer, graduate to director level on both a temporary and permanent basis. So I'm well familiar with the variety of reasons that people are looking to move on from their employer, as well as listening to business leaders talk about their work planning and workforce challenges. The team that I ran was very successful. We were award-winning, hard-working, very cohesive business. On my exit last year, the team stood around about 43 staff, 74% of which were female. Our attrition rate was less than 5%. And to put that into context, the average recruitment company is perhaps around 35%, and within construction, it's currently about 21%. So we did well to retain particular staff, and I'd like to think that was because we had a strong diversity and inclusion type policy. Now that I've moved on from Contract Scotland, I'm really looking to work with organisations to identify and repair blockers to their success, be it around people dynamics, decision meetings, and probably trying to improve culture and cohesiveness to increase business and secure further business to gain competitive advantage. So I suppose I can speak firsthand, but as Aileen and Tal alluded to, there is a swathe of information out there that will demonstrate that diversity of thought and of gender balance will enrich your business. So it's really considering what are the blockers and why is it that diversity is an issue or a concern. What are your concerns? And really start to examine that on quite a deep level. And if I had a toolkit when I ran my own business, I would have been delighted, because leaders don't always have the answers. So utilising this toolkit that is free will be, you have nothing to lose from, I suppose, from taking that up. The recruitment sector and the construction sector are quite similar in the regard that they are both male dominated. They both probably don't naturally see part-time working being a good fit. They're probably certainly fairly competitive and sometimes confrontational. So it's really important that you think about the type of environment that you have, and if you can increase diverse working and diverse thoughts within your business. The topic of women in construction, I suppose, still gets the old eye roll. There is no question that when I've spoken to leaders who explain that they're looking for more women within their industry, and they just don't apply, or they start saying that they're not studying the type of courses that they need. the evidence is against that. In actual fact, we've got a higher level of women entering engineering type courses than ever before. I think more of the worry is that when they're coming out and having achieved their degrees, they're looking at the construction industry and they don't really like what they see. And I think that's extremely sad, more than anything else, that they've spent time studying quantity surveying, civil engineering, chemical engineering and the like, but no longer seeing, but taking a look at the organisation and thinking, that's not the type of environment for me. So the problem isn't with the women, it's with the businesses themselves and making themselves more attractive to a greater section of society. As Aileen alluded to, we have a huge skills gap, regardless of what happens with this short-term crisis that we face now. We've still got to deliver huge building programmes, massive rail infrastructure programmes throughout the UK, and we can't do it with the existing talent pool. We've also got barriers in the form of Brexit and other international barriers of travel. So we really do need to focus on increasing that talent pool. Opening yourself up to more women and people who might work part-time, for example, who have different backgrounds or disabilities, where they could work from home, will really it will help you consider your workforce planning, but also make you an organisation that is more reflective of society. And there's no question that the people who are in school and education now are looking for organisations that look and feel like what their social groups look like. We're not looking for there to be a massive difference between their social structure and their work structure. I think Aileen alluded to that having an increased diverse workforce definitely makes for more effective decision making. I've been lucky enough to work with an organisation recently who have quite a number of women uniquely in a construction sector at more of a senior management level, and there's much greater harmony within their business as a result. The impact of that is that the staff feel valued and they've started to minimise their attrition rate. They're starting to lose less people and be more effective. That's therefore giving them more competitive advantage in the Scottish construction industry today. When I first did this presentation, I think it was in October of last year for CSIC, and we were talking about VUCA, and the notion was, I think, something that had first come around from the Americans and after the Cold War, I believe. So that was volatile, uncertain and complex. Sort of complex and ambiguous times. And I think we never thought at that point we were talking about Brexit and the political situation between Scotland and England. There was changing government, but never did I think we'd be throwing in a pandemic for good measure. So it's really difficult for leaders just now. It's difficult for many leaders to navigate these changes. So it's really looking at what's going to be important for you as a business leader and be able to get, I suppose, as many tools as we can at your disposal to help make better business decisions. I think if, again, utilising the toolkit strongly, you'll be able to get a deeper conversation with your staff, you'll be able to get information back from your staff that will help you navigate your business more effectively and make better decisions. When we talk about females entering the workplace, we talked about what it is they don't like, what they see from the construction industry. And I think that comes fully back to the that we talked about earlier on, and that is the concern so when women are coming to enter in the workplace, they maybe don't see the role models that are like them. They don't see people moving up within their business, and they start to question why there isn't any women within board type roles. The other aspect is they start to think that because there's only one way of working, and it might be a 7 till 7, and a presenteeism culture that is inherent within the construction industry, or they might be able to have to be asked to work anywhere within the UK at a drop of a hat, and certainly not having an opportunity to work from home, maybe to look at caring conditions further down the line. There is a huge concern there that we're never going to get these women on boards. But in terms of the return on equity, those with women on boards are outperforming those without by 41%. So it is up to you to look to adapt and modify your business to have a culture where the women can come up through the ranks, because it will certainly benefit everybody within that process. And those with 30% of women in leadership roles are adding 6% net profit margins. Now, I don't like to be crude and making the case for having more women on the workforce to look at profitability, but not only having a more reflective way of society, having better decision making, having more cohesion, harmony, as well as financial return, as well as not having been able to increase the talent that you have in your business. I think sometimes it's just a no-brainer, and I think we have to get on with it. We can't continue to have around 14–15% of women within construction. There's a huge case for checking your own bias, really. I think, and having that real desire to improve. I think quite interestingly, over the last couple of months, we've, I suppose, seen crazy times, and that we have to start trusting our staff quite quickly. I think we would never probably considered that we would be sitting at a time where 2 months ago that technology, whilst it's important, it wasn't certainly important to have staff working from home because the number of staff work on a site environment. And we've, I suppose, like many of us, started to grapple with GoToWebinar, Zoom, Teams, etc. And we've been able to see that in actual fact it's been quite easy for organisations to change. We've all gone through our difficult times, but there's no question that it's not been beneficial for people who had caring responsibilities. So at a time where we're now looking to improve our skill set, I don't want organisations to be going backwards. I think we've started to see that there's real benefit in trusting your staff. And over the time of working and recruiting, the biggest moan that I had and the biggest concern I had from people looking to change jobs was that they didn't feel trusted. I don't know if there was always the intent of the organisation, it meant the staff member didn't always intend their staff member to feel untrusted. But there is certainly a concept in construction of earning trust, whereas in other organisations, trust is freely given. I didn't think we'd be seeing banks, one of the most hated institutions over the last 10 years, but I didn't think we'd be seeing banks as an organisation that we'd be looking up to. But the banks have done exceptionally well in trusting their staff to work from home and providing the infrastructure over the last few years. They've been able to have people working from home much more freely and working with a huge part of the population to be able to work at a time that suits them. It's not allowing them to do whatever they want when they want, but they've looked at job design a little bit more closely to work out that people can actually get results in a time frame that's suitable for everybody, but they've felt trusted. And so much so of trusting those members of staff, they've been great around their staff members who have got families. We're all working from home. We're trying to do this incredible juggle. But we're not working from home, we're working at home. But they've trusted them so much so to deliver results when they can, and told them that not to worry about taking calls when your children are around. That's great. That's demonstrating a real culture that we're in this together, showing empathy. And I think sometimes the construction industry can lack that empathy. And I think it's that the women can see when they come to enter the workplace. So having that trust has also meant that the organisations have gone as far to provide drawings and skills and games for their staff members to give them to give to their children, so they can get on and try and work as best they can. And it really shows a human side. And I think when you show a human side, people can be themselves and bring their true selves to work. And when you're able to bring their true self to work, you perform at a much higher level. So I think that looking at that diversity and inclusive way is that we want people to come to work as they are and who they are, and not only mimic and be like the person they've actually been recruited by. The flexible working point, I think, came around from Deloitte. This was a study that was done a few years back. Flexible working kept on creeping up as a reason that people would join organisations. But that, I would imagine that'll be number one as things stand, and we don't know when we're going to be coming back to the office on a full-time basis. So I hope that is something that doesn't change. But as leaders, you're in charge of that. You're able to set a flexible working agenda. The banks that I refer to that have shown great flexibility had a more empathetic view, taking the perspective of their staff. They're increasing their rate of applications by around 20% at the moment. I mean, that's incredible. Banks have always, particularly in Edinburgh, banks have always fought for each type of staff. But to show, because they're showcasing this really adaptable message, which is something that staff are craving, and they've increased their talent pool. And the construction industry needs to increase their talent pool hugely in order to be successful. Excuse me while I go between slides. So I suppose what I'm working with a number of employers just now is those checking their own bias. We can be guilty within the construction industry of really finding, just looking to recruit the same type of people all the time. And often it's that homophily aspect of just recruiting the people who are like you. But in actual fact, we're all really benefited. We're looking for people who have got different messages, different understanding, a different type of background. I think we're going to be, as the graduate of today, they're not looking for a career structure that goes from engineer, agent, project manager and business leader. They might want to come in as an engineer but go into estimating, and then maybe come out of industry but then come back into it and look at something in procurement. So we're going to have different types of backgrounds, and it's really important now to check your bias and start looking at the skills and the traits of people, rather than looking at this linear career path that perhaps we were used to from working in the 80s and 90s. I certainly know that my own background was an upbringing was to stay in a job and progress up, but that isn't going to be the case for much longer, and we're certainly seeing more people move across sectors and move across within your business. And it's making sure that you can provide opportunity for people to be able to move across your business, and for that not to be a penalty, and also for them to consider different ways of working, and for that not to be, for them not to be penalised. I suppose it's given having a real desire to want to improve your business, to really feel that having a different way and different method of working would be good, and to really start looking for the role models in your business. And that's not the role models who have been with the organisation for 20 years who are now the director. That might be the receptionist, who is a fantastic advocate for the business and welcoming people. That might be the accountant who's worked with you within construction for 14 years. But it also might be the person who's moved across your business and gone into different type roles and only been there for 18 months. It's starting to look at and start to showcase the women who are in your business and that you're proud of them. And also perhaps tap them on the shoulder when you know there's an opportunity that's available. I think a lot of the time women often feel they're overlooked and men are overlooking them. And it's thinking about you as a business leader about stamping out that type of behaviour because you know that it's just not right. I'll go between the screens here. I think one of the more interesting things was that we also saw from our own experiences that particularly some of the younger people entering the industry, that they had a huge demand for pay transparency, and it was making sure your businesses were fairly open and inclusive around that. They expect to know that people are paid appropriately. We also expect that part-time workers are going to be there because they're thinking they might have their own side hustle they might want to get involved with as well. And again, they don't want other interests to be something that would stop them from moving on. They are also keen that there is learning available within their organisation, and I think construction industry really needs to look at having more of a learning and development culture for not only just their leaders and managers, but within the staff as well. Most people want to have time to learn on the job and to be able to increase their skills, to be confident and competent, not just to be able to improve their skills to move on. They actually want to feel better and to perform really better, rather than just getting focused on the day-to-day. I think what some employers were often scared of was investing in employees, and that would develop a culture that would perhaps just move on. But in actual fact, it shows greater commitment, and they would give further buy-in, and usually there's further unity as a result of investing in them personally. So as leaders, I suppose I'm really encouraging you to set the scene, have an open dialogue with your members of staff about what they need from you as a business. Some people have enjoyed working from home hugely, others like me have hated it. And it's not that I hate it all the time, it's just perhaps I know I'm somebody that works in a business, the other people who have worked and so others who have worked away and squirreled away at home, I think they've often found that it's quite difficult. It's often found it quite easy. We've seen people not being able to have to travel excessively. And I also think the impact of the construction sector now they've embraced technology. We'll see that people didn't have to travel all the time at 8 o'clock in the morning to get to a site for a full site meeting. We can do it quite effectively on Teams, on Zoom, and I think that's going to create an awful lot of opportunity for people to be able to have more of a work-life balance within their own personal situations, which I think will be ideal. So in using the toolkit, I think we can hope that this will allow you to set the scene for your organisation. It will certainly give you the opportunity to engage with your staff at a much deeper level, and that's certainly something that needs to be done. I think a lot of the time within the construction industry, we only really speak with staff on a deeper level at appraisal time, if at all, and we're not really understanding what's going on within their life, where they're looking to go on a long-term basis within the staff progression aspect, but also what's happening within their personal life. So you can really learn from your staff and make more in-tune decisions, which again will help you become a better business. When you understand people, you start to bring in a lot of their skills and skill set to make your organisation more effective. And then in learning what the priorities are, you can start to execute these decisions with your staff and feel part of it and begin to excel. So I'd urge you to act now. I would urge you to use the toolkit. There is amazing resources available from CSIC. I've seen that firsthand and seen how incredibly hard they work. As I say, I equate, I know Aileen is a fantastic point of contact, so don't hesitate to listen and speak with her. I think McAlpines will have some information regarding the work they've done and what impact this has had for them. But this tool will allow you to assess your staff, it will allow you to plan for your future, look at your own talent planning, it will widen your talent planning, and it will also allow you to measure staff on output and not start focusing, looking at diversity and inclusion, sorry. It will allow you to assess your staff on the output and outcomes rather than looking at the type of hours that you do. So thanks very much for your time. I'm just not sure who I'm passing over to next, but I'm no doubt it will be Douglas.
It is indeed, Emma, and thank you for that. It was really fascinating, and it was really great to, I suppose, have the perspectives on what has been a long running issue, and I know it's an issue that you've been invested in personally for some time, but really reflecting on how that issue is transforming and both presenting new challenges and indeed, in many cases, new opportunities to really embrace equality, diversity and inclusiveness within the industry. So we are now going to head into the, and sorry, we've had a question. Can you stop sharing your screen just now, Emma?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. So we're just going to head into the final poll, which should come up on your screen momentarily. And in the final poll, very much leading on from Emma's call to action, we are keen to know which of the following areas do you believe should be prioritised over the coming months? And so are we looking at supporting those who are just coming into the industry and developing their skills? Is flexible working arrangements the new where it's at, particularly given the current crisis? New entrants in developing workforce as school age, college, universities just coming into the industry, or are we looking further up in the chain of managers, supervisors and business owners? And we're just going to close the poll off there, and what hopefully you can all see is that support for flexible working arrangements is the key favourite there, and no surprise given the circumstances that we all find ourselves in. So without further ado, I am, and Emma, I think you're still sharing your screen, or someone is sharing the screen.
I know, I'm sorry, I don't think that's it. No.
That's us, all good. So a great pleasure in welcoming our colleague Talat Yaqub, who's joined us today. Hello Talat, it's lovely to see you. Talat is the Director for Recruitment Scotland.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So welcome Talat, and not to put you on the spot at all, we have received a number of questions from the audience, and one of the questions relates to the school system. So from Jennifer, do you feel that the school system adds to the issue from an early age? Construction courses, beauty courses, I suppose heavily gendered courses, although not gender specific, may be adding to the issue. I guess the question is really asking how are those with caring responsibilities going to juggle work and I suppose schooling requirements over the coming months?
So this is a hugely gendered issue in that all the work that we have been doing in reviewing the impact of COVID-19 on women reveals that actually they are continuing to work where they can, but also do the caring responsibilities and the homeschooling. What that means post-COVID-19, when people can return to work but schools are not open, it's going to mean that there's women missing from the labour market even more than they already are. Within the school system, so just to check, the question was about COVID-19, schools and women working in construction right now. Yeah, so I think the risk is that we actually make the issue of occupational segregation worse because women have to opt out of the labour market. The best thing that as employers we can do, the sector can do, is find the most accessible, supportive and flexible way we can provide working arrangements to create an environment in which women feel they can continue to work whilst having those responsibilities. There's also a wider societal implication to this, and a potential opportunity for employers to also be promoting and supporting, encouraging men to take flexible working and participate in their caring responsibilities as well. The more we can create equality in the workplace and in the home, the better it is for the labour market long term.
No, thank you, Talat. And kind of following on from that theme, perhaps a question for Emma. And Emma, we've received a question from Claire. Claire's asking, or saying she's interested to know what the panel's thoughts are on whether the current new normal of flexible working will encourage more women into the industry, or are we going to experience things going backwards as women who have the majority of caring responsibilities continue to do so after when the schools remain closed?
Yeah, I think, well, as Talat said, I think this is the big concern, is that not only women do have caring responsibilities for children, but I think we're seeing with their adults and their parents are certainly going to have to be getting looked after as well if they're still shielding and the like. And this often falls to the female person, the female of the household. However, I do think if organisations start to be as sympathetic as, for example, that the banks are, and not every bank, as I say all the time, but they've definitely got this at the forefront. If the construction industry can mimic that pattern and demonstrate empathy and can really showcase empathy, that it's okay to work part-time, that it's fine to work at a back shift or in the morning and then come back to work, because it's about outcome production, not about being enslaved to your desk from 9 to 5. I think that will definitely widen the talent pool. More women will look at this, and I think, frankly, more people generally will want to work within the construction industry. I think that view of construction seen as a slog, a 7 till 7 because there's a presenteeism culture, it's not good for anybody. I don't think anyone wants to work like that anymore. But yes, I think if they do it correctly and do it genuinely, then I think it should stand to reason that more women will be to enter the workplace or perhaps work part-time.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I think it's really interesting to see an industry that, at least on the in the more operative roles, that's been largely resistant to flexible working practices, are now being forced into a position where these are the norm, and shift work is the norm. And so I guess in support of both your response and Claire's question, there's a real opportunity here for us to break down those assumptions that it can't be done, and then really look to mainstream it and ensure that it is done in the long term. Aileen, just going to bring you in here. We've got another question that's came through from Claire. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, Sir Robert McAlpine are the industry partners for this project, and very supportive throughout the development phase, and only couldn't be with us today because, as you can imagine, they're juggling a range of challenges at the moment. Claire is asking, for the investment that McAlpines have made in this project, how are they measuring return on investment? What are the strategic objectives? And I suppose the larger question is why are they doing this?
Yeah, so obviously I can't speak on behalf of Sir Robert McAlpine today, but the reason why they were engaged in this project was to see themselves as leaders in equality and diversity in the construction sector, and to take an approach where people can look at what they're doing and implement positive changes, and encourage projects like this and other organisations to take equality and diversity initiatives forward. And I think in the industry guide, there's lots of examples of the way Sir Robert McAlpine have been able to implement things like flexible working, which has come up in the poll as being of utmost importance at the moment, but also being able to support other organisations and taking forward initiatives to improve workplace culture, to improve the happiness of their employees, and in turn that promotes diversity inclusion throughout the whole workforce. So I would point you to the industry guide to have a look at that. It looks at recruitment, it looks at pay and reward, and it looks at other working practices like flexible working.
Thank you, Aileen. Perhaps a question for all panelists here. We often speak about the business, legal and moral case for diversity in the workplace, and it's been well referenced throughout today's session. I just wonder, how is the business case fundamentally shifting, given the ongoing crisis, and where is the big opportunity, that big moment that's going to get companies to really sit up and see the value in investing in diversity in the workforce now? And so open up to all panelists.
Well, do you know what's really interesting is the conversations around the economy post COVID-19 have, without trying too hard actually, have focused on equality and inclusion. There's a real push from Scottish Government, UK Government and large industry umbrella bodies. There's a real push that we haven't had to do as the equalities organisations And what we've seen is the term build back better has kept being referred to. Now, what that means is the way the economy worked before meant that when we had a crisis like COVID-19, it did more harm than what it would have done had we had robust measures around inclusion and equality. Now, we must take this as a learning opportunity to create a more competent economy so that the mistake isn't made again. That's the whole point of an evolving, growing economy. Now, if you think about, had we invested in more tech innovation within the construction sector, had we invested in equality and flexible working within the construction sector, of course, understanding that there is a fair element of the construction sector which cannot be delivered at home. We are building, we are making things. I don't expect anyone to bring their bricks and mortar home. But the reality here is that if this investment had been made, the shock to the system of COVID-19 would not have been as great. So we take this crisis as a learning opportunity for the economy, as we have with any recession, as we have with austerity. We take that learning. And I think for me, there's two things. One, there is a need for there to be an investment in tech innovation within the construction industry. And second, how do we create flexibility whilst engaging with other sectors, engineering, technology, the finance sector, wherever it might be? How do we create flexibility around the construction sector as well as within it, which would create a more resilient industry in the next crisis? Because whatever the crisis is, whether it is about trade, whether it is about climate change, whether it was COVID-19, there is a crisis, whether it's in a decade. It's about how we respond and what learning we take from this.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Talit, because one of the concerns I have is that when it comes a crisis in the construction industry, we revert to cost cutting, and we start to look at profitability straight away, and that means we look at cutting people. Redundancies will sadly happen within the construction industry, I have no doubt, but there always seems to be that pressure that it has to come from people, and we only have to keep the very best, and the very best looks like the people who are the safe pair of hands, the traditionalists that have been there, you know, for a long time, or the guys, and I will say guys who work in 12 till 12, because we haven't examined the type of people that, you know, can make up this diverse workforce, and look at the people who might actually better working part-time, because we've never asked those questions. We're taking away the wrong people from the business. And from my experience, and I'm sure you share this, the type of people we need that are going to make our business go back better are actually going to be the ones who are agile, can adapt to change quite readily, are able to work flexibly, work from home and the like as well. I don't think it's the same, well, I need a QS with 10 years experience. It's people who have grasped technology, and there's a different type of people who will be out there for that type of thinking.
No, indeed, well said. Aileen, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, there's nothing too much I want to add to that. I think that was really well said by both Talit and Emma. I think also we're talking about bringing new people in, but it can also work for people that are already in the working in the industry and have done for a really long time, that are perhaps near the end of their career, and they too want to, you know, take a step back or change their working pattern to suit their lifestyle or their needs at that time. So it can really work for both all across the employee spectrum.
Perfect, thank you all. So I am conscious of time, and you know, unfortunately we can't keep the conversation going forever as much as I'd like to. I'm sure our attendees would appreciate that as well. What I will say is, firstly, thank you to all three of our panelists today. They are all available, and they're on social media. They have websites, so get in touch with them. A huge volume of expertise, and all three are, you know, kind of deeply ingrained within equality, diversity and inclusiveness, and particularly well informed about how to do it properly. So please do keep the conversation going with our panelists. Get in touch and see how they can support you and support your business. Thank you also to all the attendees who've came along, who've joined us today, who've asked questions, and who very much are the champions of diversity within the sector. We know that you are self-selecting, and we really appreciate all the work that you collectively do. So we are here to support you. Please do visit our Inclusive Value website at www.inclusivevalue.co.uk. I nearly forgot that there. Also, we have our guide, our handbook, which is available in the chat pane or the handout pane, and will be emailed to you as part of our participant feedback. So please do read it. Aileen's done a wonderful job of capturing a huge volume of information from the industry so that you don't have to. So please read it, and more importantly, please use it. But thank you once again. Hope you enjoyed the session. We will be running a number more, so keep your eye out on the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre events and webinars webpage, and stay safe, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.